Who told you? Who told you? Who told you? Who told you? You what? God design, God design.
What's up, buddies? Guess what? Surprise. We got a surprise for you today. I know that I said that we was going to be we're going to be trying to do a lot more preparation, a lot more study. That way we can give you the most insight-filled episodes possible. But I can't stay away. I love y'all too much. I said, you know what? I miss my people. So I'm back again today. Got a very special guest. We just, nothing in particular. We're going to talk, you know how I feel about Boerboels. You know, I feel that it's the greatest dog breed on earth, the most ideal dog for modern civil society. We think that it's the best dog. It has a numerous amount of upside. Today, we're going to let somebody else tell you how they feel. Completely new person we've never had on our show before. Some of you may know her. I'll let her tell you all about herself.
Hey guys, it's nice to meet all y'all. I've known Jordan for what now? Probably 6 months, a year.
Hold on now. Hold on, Ellie. Let me introduce you. This is Ellie, y'all. This is my friend. We just been talking on the phone. She's crazy about these dogs, as crazy as me, as I am. She loves Boerboels also. And I said, you know what, Ellie, we've been talking quite often. I said, you know what, I think that you will be a great guest. We lost you there, Ellie. Back.
Sorry, my sound cut out there. Yeah, no, as Jordan said, I've known him a few months now. We chat, we talk about the Boerboels. We love the Boerboels together. My background, Jordan, I think you pretty much know it's a lot of different breeds over time. I grew up around dogs. I was always doing foster, rescue, rehab. But I met my first Boerboel when I was nannying abroad and fell in love with the breed. And when I became independent, got my own house, was paying my own bills, I decided I was going to get my own Boerboel. And I was going to live my best life with this this breed that I had not interacted with in probably over 10 years. I was finally going to go and get my Boerboel. And I did. And I have never regretted that decision.
Oh, yeah, that sounds a lot like my story. When you get your own home, I heard that so many times. Jordan, listen, you cannot bring no another dog here. But guess what? One day you're going to be grown and on your own, and you can make your own rules, and you can have your own home, and you can do whatever you want. And that echoed in my head. Like my heartbeat. I heard that just over and over repeated. I'm like, I'm gonna get my own house. I wanted a dog so bad, it just became my life's mission. I had to get my own house though first, my own family, everything. So now I living my dream life, and I wouldn't be happier. I couldn't be happier. Yes, it really is. But that's enough about me. We know my story. Come on, tell us about you, Ellie. So you a dog owner, lover, rescue and rehabs. What all breeds do you have experience with?
Different types of Mastiffs, St. Bernards, Pit Bulls. I've done small dogs like Chihuahuas and Malteses that were puppy mill rescues, and they needed to be rehabilitated. I've done labs, German Shepherd mixes, you name it, I've probably done it. But I did not get the chance to do a Boerboel, which is probably good in the rescue rehab sense that I didn't have the opportunity to come across one that had been abused. So that's a good situation. But when it came time, it was time. And I made the call, and I called my breeder, and I talked with her. And when I tell you, this little man ran up to me and picked me. He ran up to me and picked me. I couldn't say no to that.
Yeah. Okay. So, board buddies, I want to give y'all a little bit of background. So, Ellie has got a Boerboel, but she did not get it from me. So there's no discriminating. It came from another camp, and that's fine. We still feel like it's still Boerboel family. We all inclusive.
Absolutely.
We don't have a problem with that. Much respect to her breeder. Glad that things have been working out for you. Your dog's name is Thor, correct?
Correct.
I seen many pictures you got. Where that boy at? Where is he?
Thor, can you say hi?
Oh, you got another dog there. Oh, look at.
Yeah, I've got my service dog here, Shelby, and I've got Thor right here.
Now Shelby is a setter.
Golden Retriever.
Oh, yeah, there you go again. That's one of my favorites. That's my first dog was a golden retriever chow
They're
chow.
great. They're great, and I will tell you, these two love each other.
Yeah, I
These
often.
two are best buddies.
What are you? Give us a comparison, similarities and differences between the Boerboel and the golden.
So I will give a preference with my golden because she is a service dog. The animal behaviorist that trained her with me did test the entire litter. So Shelby was essentially the top of her litter for the job and intelligence wise. So if I'm comparing a top tier golden retriever with a Boerboel, I'm going to say intelligence is going to be right there. They are smart. They pick up, but they pick up in different ways. They pick up in very different ways. Thor is a protector. He will pick up if I do not like someone, if someone approaches me that I'm not aware of. Shelby more picks up on an intuitive sense with my heart condition. She picks up if my heart rate goes too high. Thor is more of my external protector. The golden retriever is more of my internal protector.
Right. I often would say that the difference is in the capabilities of the dog.
Absolutely.
They're more similar. The difference is the Boerboel is equipped for combat. The Boerboel is equipped for defense. The Boerboel is equipped for protection. Whereas that makes them more capable and likely to have success in a situation. Whereas,
absolutely.
And I say that they're very comparable because the retriever, my retriever was very loving. He was a golden retriever, chow chow, very loving, very intelligent. He was like a neighborhood dog, a local celebrity. People came by. He was showered with love, and he poured out love. That's the same in my experience with the Boerboels. They want to share. They want to embrace people. They want to get love. They want to experience love. They're not like your average guard breed, your average guardian breed that's looking for, let's say, to engage first.
Mm-hmm.
What other protection guardian oriented breeds do you have experience with?
Protection guardian oriented breeds, pit bulls mainly was my previous experience. In the protection, German Shepherd mixes, but not purebred.
So what differences do you see with those in the Boerboel?
Boerboels are by far, and if I include dogs I've interacted with that were not mine, the smartest of the protection breeds that I have come across. His capability to learn commands is just amazing to me. His capability to pick up on just a sense of if we're walking and we come across someone that I'm not a fan of and I don't like, he picks up on that immediately. I do not hear that from people I know that have other guardian breeds. And I'm not talking bad about other guardian breeds. I'm sure it happens, but I feel with my Boerboel, he picks up on way more about my feelings and my situational awareness than other guardian breeds that I have personally worked with.
Right. It's a natural instinct with the Boerboel, in my opinion. It's like magnified times 10 what you get with an average dog. So it's like, there's I believe, this is my personal opinion. There is no factual evidence behind this, but I believe it. And then, how would we arrive at a situation like that? Well, it becomes out of necessity. The Boerboel had to survive through the struggle. The Boerboel,
Mm,
so these things, these virtues, the owners, the leader, the pack leaders, the owners, well-being and safety has a little bit more effect on the Boerboel's lifespan or the Boerboel's comfort level of comfortability than some other pet type of breeds. You see what I mean? Because they had to be there. They had, in order for them to be effective, they had to be alert. They had to be observant
mm-hmm.
because their survival depended on that. So I think that's rooted in there. What do you feel like some challenges would be for a Boerboel owner?
I would say your biggest challenge is going to be if you do not start training as soon as you get to your dog. You're going to find your dog very quickly has outsmarted you. And to this day, I find Thor is not yet 2. He still has a mind of his own. And if he can squeeze past me and try and get something, I have to be consistent in training. That includes anyone that comes into your house. So, someone comes into your house, you make sure they know what the rules are. I'm sorry, if this dog is jumping or barking for attention, you don't give him that attention. That's not how we get attention in this house. And if someone comes in and breaks those rules, well, guess what? You've just undone weeks worth of training because now they just finally saw that that barking and that jumping is getting them the attention they want. So, in that sense, you also have to screen who's going to be allowed around your Boerboel because when you're in the deep training phase of, the puppy and teenager stage, if you don't keep on top of that, you are going to lose it. This dog will outsmart you and this dog will have you running in circles if you do not get on top of them. They are very independent in their thinking, and while they are attached to their owners, you also need to set boundaries. This is your house. You pay for the house. You don't want to have to be repairing the house constantly. You got to set boundaries. You want to be able to go on a walk with your dog, right? You want
Right.
to be able to nicely go on a walk with your dog without them pulling. Well, you got to start that training young because soon enough your Boerboel's going to be 100 pounds and it's going to be a whole lot harder to figure out how to rein them in on a walk.
That's a point that we make often. Keep in mind that this 20, 30-pound puppy, you don't want them to have a behaviors uh, consistently that you don't want to have as a 200-pound, 180-pound dog. So you want them not, if you don't want them 200-pound dog jumping up on you with his paws in the rain or whatever, you're not going to allow your puppy to do that. You don't want your dog, 200-pound dog, on the kitchen table jumping up with his paws. You're not going to allow the puppy to do that. We often talk about that on the show. So would you say the level of a difficulty, because you've got so much experience? You know what? That's a good point. How much did your previous dog experience come into play? Because I see you got a really good relationship with your dog. So how much did your previous experience come in? Monroe, how much did your previous dog experience come into play with your new Boerboel?
I think the basic training came into play, but because the Boerboels are just such a unique breed and their intelligence is not only unique, but just completely off the charts. Really, it's a whole new experience when you get a Boerboel. You are really having to find someone who can mentor you and teach you specifically about the breed. Because while you can teach the basics of sit, lay, stay, hold it, relax, bark, all of those things, there's more to a Boerboel than just basic commands. And it's really, so for example, I think I just talked with you about this one, going to Lowe's, letting him meet people. The only time Thor would actually bark at someone is if they approached me without me knowing. That was the only time. Someone approached me from the side. I had no idea they were there. They went to say hi to Thor without me knowing, and Thor started barking. And of course, while he's still the runt of the litter, he is 120 pounds, and that is an intimidating bark for people. Explain to people, he needs to know that I know that you're there. You can't just approach me from the side. Most dogs that I've trained, that's not been an issue because they haven't been true guardian breeds. But when you have such a refined guardian breed like a Boerboel, you have to be able to explain to people, hey, I need to tell him he can approach you and that it's okay for him to say hi to you. Don't just run up to the dog. Don't just, come from the side. We've been on walks. We had a toddler at one point run up to us, and I slowed the toddler down. I had my treat bag for training, and I gave him a treat. I said, would you like to give him a treat? And I got Thor sitting, and the toddler went and gave Thor a treat. And you make it an enjoyable and learning experience for the child because you just go, oh my gosh, you just gave a dog so much bigger than you a treat. Look at how awesome you are. You allow other people to see how great the breed is, but you have to make sure it is always on your terms. With a golden retriever, I don't have to worry if a toddler runs up to them. But if I'm in public with a Boerboel and someone who happens to work at Lowe's comes from the side and approaches without me knowing, that's a situation that I need to be aware of before anything else escalates because he's going to try and protect me before anything else.
Right. So does he perceive every individual as a threat? Or is he,
I would say,
is like when you're not aware, does he notice that you're not aware this person sneak up on you? Or is he like, well, this person is coming up, Mom, you see him, I got to let you know, hey, stay back. I mean, so walk us through that a little bit.
Okay, so I've noticed as I've gotten out a lot, and we've recently moved to a new neighborhood. So walking, going out in public, I've noticed he is picking up more on who I may or may not like or who I may or may not be fearful of. He will approach people, and I always lead it. I say, you can say hi. Now, if he doesn't want to say hi or he barks, there's a reason for it. I have learned with Thor, there is a reason he is barking to alert me. At one point, we were sitting in a neighbor's driveway and someone wanted to force their dog to say hello to Thor. Now, this dog was, I think, a golden doodle. The dog was scared of Thor. Thor is big. I wouldn't blame the dog. The dog started growling, and I said, no, don't you force your dog on Thor because that's going to be a bad energy thing.
Right.
That's not the energy we need. He defers to me for a lot of things, but when I am not aware of what is going on, he has started picking up on that, which was amazing to see because he's not yet 2. He'll be 2 in September. So to see that he knew that someone was approaching me that I did not see and reacted accordingly, that was a big step in him becoming a better guardian dog. But I always try to lead with, Thor, sit, and I will say, if you want to, Thor, you can say hi to this person, and he will. But he has to hear from me, you are okay to approach this person.
So is that something, how much of that was trained? How much of that was natural?
Oh, I think it's pretty natural in them to really rely on how their owners are feeling. There's, whether we go down to the hormones that we release when we're in a fearful situation, or the sweat or the heart rate of, I may not like this person and they're trying to talk to me and I'm not doing it, and your dog starts barking to protect you. I think that is completely innate and bred into them over the centuries. Absolutely.
Right.
Now, you can refine it and make it better, but that is an instinctual thing that these dogs have.
I speak on that all the time. They're not, and it doesn't have to be protection trained in order for it to be an effective protector. The Boerboel is a guardian. 9 times out of 10, we're not looking to go into combat. I don't know about you, but me personally, I'm not necessarily looking for a fight. I'm looking for peace. I'm not
low drama over here.
You say you love
low drama. We're low drama.
I was gonna say, Ellie, you wild. You don't seem like that type.
We're gonna tear it up tonight, aren't we?
No, we're not gonna do that. We don't want to tear
No,
nothing
I
up.
want to comment on something though. Ralph did point out something. And Ralph, you are completely right with your Boerboel, because I will say Thor, and I've talked with Jordan about this many times, Thor is very specific with everything. I tell Jordan everything needs a definition for Thor. So sitting on a neighbor's driveway, he had never seen a Topo Chico bottle. For those who don't know, that's like a glass water bottle. He had never seen one.
Mhm.
And I tapped it against the driveway and it made a unique sound. So he kind of backed up a little bit and he said, I don't know this exact item in this exact sound. So I'm going to back up and approach it on my terms as I feel safe. So, yes, I mean, even at my vet's office, I worked very hard to foster a relationship between the manager's daughter and Thor. And they love each other. I mean, he's been on her TikTok. They are buddies. The manager brought out a potted plant. I've never had plants. I'm not a plant person. Thor had never seen a potted plant. He was like, "Oh, what is this? We need to approach this on my terms because I need to make sure it's safe. But if you force it on me, things are going to happen." So you are right. Boerboels are smart that they need to define everything. Everything that is new or unique needs to be surveyed. Whereas some dogs may just say, it's there, I'm not interested. I have found Thor to be more engaging in what is this and what can I do with it or what can it do to me?
Right. That's a tip. That's a big tip for anybody. I hope y'all caught that. So this is where we talk about exposing the dog to these different senses, sights, smells, surroundings. The more, the better. Some people would say, well, I want my dog to be extra protective, so I'm not going to allow it to experience these different people. I think that that's counterproductive. You want the dog to experience as many different people so they can get a familiar with what is normal. You want them to get a sense of normalness, a sense of things that have a place and belonging. Then,
And it's how you react to people. They need to fine tune their senses to you as the owner of this dog, and they need to see how you react in situations. Then they get more fine tuned with, oh, I know you don't like this neighbor. He got arrested. You're scared of him. I'm going to protect you if I see him try and approach us after a walk.
right. Okay. Yeah. Talk about that. Cause we have got into some, we talked about how, we have had previous conversations where you have issues with your neighbors.
Oh, Lord. I need to start a podcast on that one. Sorry. Thor really wanted to say hi to everybody over here. He had just shoved the chair. So he says hi to everybody. We're still in the puppy stage of needing a lot of stimulation, so I apologize. Yeah, so we've moved into a new neighborhood. I essentially bought the house and the property I bought so that my amazing dogs would have way more room to run. And the house is a very open concept house so that they could have fun. What I didn't know would come with it was neighborhood drama. And that could come with neighbors getting detained by police. It could come with, I mean, property disputes. I mean, it just comes and goes. But I remember going on a walk with Thor. We did a good mile. I like to power walk him on a mile, get a good mile out of him. And as we approached my house, the neighbor, who I'm not too big of a fan of, now if you've been arrested, that's your story. I don't judge you for it, but this person obviously has issues, and for that reason, I do not like them, and I do not like being approached by them. But he was standing out there waiting for me, and I was like, oh. So, okay, I've got Thor on the leash. Thor automatically sees him and starts barking. Now, this is a neighbor who doesn't like dogs, and we don't want to risk any sort of conflict in that sense of he could throw things over the fence that may hurt a dog. So, in that sort of situation, obviously, you don't punish a dog for reading from your senses and sensing that you don't like somebody, but at the same time, you've got to create that balance of your neighbor doesn't think you're encouraging it, but you are encouraging it. So I'm like, you know what, Thor, you can lay down. It'll be okay for now. I'll keep you on a tight leash. If anything happens, he'll know. But he picks up immediately. Great. This person. We know Mama doesn't like her. So he just immediately knows who I'm fearful of, who I have anxiety around, and he will be the first thing there to protect me before I even realize it's there.
In my experiences, the dog is picking up on small cues that we may not know that we're doing.
Whether it's physical, chemical, they're picking up on something.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. You're breaking up a little bit, but I just wanted to recap that. You were saying that the dog is cueing on any, picking up when you're uncomfortable, right?
Very much so.
You got this neighbor. I don't know, for whatever reason he makes you feel uncomfortable. The dog is sensing that.
Absolutely.
Without you training the dog to do so, without you encouraging the dog to so let me ask you this. Is Thor a threat to this person?
Thor is only a threat to someone if they make themselves a threat to me. These are not dogs that are going out looking for a fight, but they will protect their owners if it comes down to it. So I will tell people this dog is a great dog, but don't try anything. I mean, they're not out there. These dogs are not inclined to go and start fights. Think about from a preservation standpoint, evolutionarily, we don't want to be starting fights because the chance of a fight increases in injury. Right. And an injury increases infection, increases risk of death. Dogs do not want to possibly sustain an injury over nothing. But because these dogs have been bred to have this instinct to protect their owners, they will be a threat to something that is a threat to their owners. Absolutely.
And I think that that's an ideal situation for today's modern society. 9 times out of 10, I mean, okay, let's say we got a criminal assailing a perpetrator. 9 times out of 10, this person is not going to be as skilled a dog in dog experience. They may or may not, but highly likely, talking about a criminal, we're not expecting them to be willing to overcome the obstacle of having 120 pound to 180 pound dog. I wanted to, while we're on that subject of the weight, since we just brought that up, how do you feel about Thor's size? 120 pounds is, you say that it's, I feel like that's still a substantial.
Oh, it's a sizable dog for sure.
That's still a substantial amount of dog. What do you think? Did he meet your expectations at 120 pounds?
Actually, my vet and I had a bet going. When I got Thor, so I met my breeder when he was around 5.5 weeks. Formed a great bond with her. And she invited me out every weekend to be with Thor, to see him, to get to know him. And I remember asking her, "Are you okay with me coming out?" She said, "Let me go and ask your dog if he wants his mom to come by." And I was like, I like her. So when I met him at about 5.5 weeks, he was 5.5 pounds. When I took him home at 8 weeks, he was about 11 pounds. So he was tiny. And my vet and I had a bet that when he was full grown, my vet was like, "There's no way he'll hit 120. And I remember we went in for the neuter, and he was at 121. And I said, he's as spiteful as I am. I mean, he's a good sized dog. I do not think that the size impacts his intelligence or impacts his ability to protect. I think that as intimidating as a 120-pound dog will look to people, a 200-pound dog is going to look more intimidating, but I don't think it impacts his ability to be a Boerboel and to have those Boerboel traits any more than a bigger dog would.
His effectiveness, and I always want to. I think that that's something. It doesn't make a Boerboel any more or less based on the size. You know, you can have a whole 120-pound dog with just as much dog as 200-pound, just as much effectiveness. In fact, maybe give you even a little bit more than that 200-pound in terms of athleticism, in terms of lifespan, in terms of activity levels, endurance, stamina. All of those
Less
things,
pressure on the joints, absolutely, over time.
yeah, pressure on the joints over time.
Definitely, but there are struggles from the beginning because he is the runt. Biologically, he's likely was located in the uterine horn, which receives less nutrients when in utero. So he was one of 12. Um, so really, when you get a dog from a breeder and there is a runt that made it, it shows you that that breeder cared enough to make sure that that dog that was tiny, that was against the odds, pulled through. So he's been a fighter from day one. His mama had mastitis. They were bottle feeding 12 babies.
Mm.
And I remember a few of the babies either got lung infections or abscesses. They were all treated, of course. However, oddly enough, Thor, as the runt, never got sick.
Mm.
Which you would think the tiniest one in the group would be the first to get sick. Thor did not get any lung infection or abscess. He did fine. But it's a lot of work. I mean, these Boerboel breeders, when Jordan's talking about his dogs, you got to realize in the background the amount of work that goes into these dogs.
Yeah,
Because
people don't understand.
people don't understand. And when you find an ethical breeder, because you and I have talked about breeders who may or may not have practices that we agree or don't agree with, you know, you want a breeder who is invested in every puppy they produce. You don't want a breeder who just says, I want the biggest and the rest of them can screw off because I'm going to have a hard time selling them. You want a breeder who says, every puppy that comes in from this litter, I'm going to give the same amount of attention to. If they need extra, they'll get extra. And we're going to raise them right. We're going to raise them around a family. We're going to raise them to be social so that by the time they go home with the owner that's chosen them, we have set the foundation for them to be a healthy dog that is in a state to be trained to be a good Boerboel.
Ellie is not a breeder. She
No.
is an owner and a dog lover. She's an advocate for responsible dog ownership. So she's speaking from a standpoint of handling
Being a
dogs that have been
consumer.
rescued, handling dogs that have been, what did you say, rescued and
Well,
rehab.
but also from a consumer, what I look for when I look for a breeder is I don't want someone who just wants to puppy churn out. I want someone who is invested in these dogs' foundation for the first 8 weeks and doesn't give up on a dog because they may be a runt or, oh, mom got sick and now we're going to have to be doing bottle feedings every couple hours. I don't want a breeder that gives up on dogs that easily. I want a breeder who is invested in the breed and understands the amazingness of the breed and wants families to be better because they have a Boerboel.
Yeah, I mean the therapeutic value, the upside, the memories, the moments, the things that you will never forget. These priceless. You can't put a price on a memory that will last forever. Your children growing up with the dogs, things of that nature. I think those are the real benefits of being a breeder, being able to share those types of priceless moments, impacting a person's life in a very positive way. The monetary thing, I don't think breeding is something that can be done for monetary, because if you think about it right now, it's an influx of dogs. A lot of people got into the dogs during the pandemic, and
Mm-hmm.
they were looking for extra additional income, which is understandable, but this isn't the ideal investment. A lot of times the dog end up suffering when you look at it as an investment because you're not willing. You have to, dogs have to eat. They need to be exercised. They need to be stimulated mentally, regardless of whether they're producing or not. So, we haven't had it. We haven't had puppies in a while around here. And guess what? My dogs are still receiving the best of care. They went out They went out to the swim pool yesterday. It was hot. I mean, the puppies was jumping in and out the water. My children were jumping in and out the water.
Well, and I think you bring up a good point there, Jordan. And it's something that people need to be prepared for when they get a Boerboel. You mentioned the food. The cost alone of having a Boerboel, you need to realize, is going to be more expensive than your average lab or golden retriever. Not only are you going to need to make sure you have the proper food that allows puppies to have healthy joints, healthy hearts, you're going to need to ensure that you have appropriate toys that grow with them. You're going to need to ensure that if you are doing flea, tick, and heartworm prevention, which I recommend people do, at the 132-pound cutoff, you now have to buy twice as much flea, tick, and heart prevention per month because you've got to now double up on your pills. I do not celebrate having to spend more. I do not know where those balloons came from, but I do not celebrate having to spend more. But again, you are going to have to spend more on flea, tick, and heart prevention if you get a dog that is above 132, because that is the cutoff for the flea, tick, and heartworm prevention.
Hold on. Let me interject real quick. Be careful with that though, Ellie, because those flea, tick, heart, those chemical compounds, and the way that they work is by toxifying the dog's system. So it's like you're adding a amount of poison to the dog. So I'm not really one to do that monthly. Right? I don't do it monthly. I don't do the month. You know how you put the stuff down their back. They got Next Guard, Safeguard. But if you look, that stuff causes cancer.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
I can believe it. And I want to bring up a good point here between how you and between how you and I work, because we've talked about a lot of contention in the Boerboel community. But the way Jordan and I, when we talk and we approach these kinds of disagreements, we approach them from a learning standpoint. We don't approach them as I'm right, he's wrong, or she's wrong, I'm right. Jordan and I definitely, and Jordan's not one to say, you're fucking it up, you need to do better. Jordan will explain things through. For me, I understand the cancer side effects, but living in Texas,
right,
where I am, I also have to counterweigh the heartworm risk, which is pretty large down here. So the likelihood of him getting heartworm is rather high in Texas because of our weather. So I have to take into account the cost-benefit ratio and if it works in my family and it works in my geographic area and it works in my logic. For me right now, it works. Just the same way I do vaccines for the flu that most people don't do, because we tend to get a lot of outbreaks down here. We recently had a shelter. The Humane Society of North Texas actually shut their Fort Worth location. I think it was 2 summers ago due to a distemper outbreak. It was bad. Like nobody, unless you were staff, could enter or leave. No dogs were entering or leaving. So I have to take into account what's going on around me and what the risks are around me. And when you look at, the studies that Jordan is saying, if there is that cancer risk, you need to make that decision for your family. You also need to make the decision of fleas and ticks. Personally, for me, fleas are very prevalent down here. And I do not like that they lead to tapeworms and all of that stuff. But I know when we lived up north and it was -40 in the winter, we didn't do flea and tick prevention in the winter. There was no need to. Why would you do flea, tick, and heartworm prevention when it's -40? There's nothing out there that will get them.
Right. Well, I just wanted to mention that because, me personally, I'm like, I don't want to get fleas and ticks on myself. I used to spray my legs down. Like I go outside with the dogs and, they flies and stuff. So I spray, I'm spraying them to get the flies off their ears, get the flies off their body. I might even spray myself down a little bit, spray my legs because I don't want it. Then later, as I learned, I said, wait a minute. I found a resale shop that sells stuff that people return to the store.
Oh.
And they're giving out they got the front line in the front line. That's the stuff that goes down the back of the neck. And the reason it has they put the reason for their return on the package. It says a study shows that it causes cancer. And I'm like, wow. So I just try to use it. I got small children. I got children. I got people coming over. They always rubbing on the dogs. And I wasn't saying, to each his own. You got to do what you got to do. You got to do the best for your dogs. But that is a fact. That is something that has been studied and found to. It makes sense. It makes perfect sense. Another thing that I've noticed that people these manufacturers will do is over prescribe and over recommend. So they'll tell you need to get this every month, regardless whether you see fleas or flies or ticks or not.
Or it could be -40 all month and there's nothing out there.
Exactly. So board buddies, just be conscious. Just read between the lines. Don't be the uninformed consumer that's just doing whatever somebody tell you to do just because they say that this is what needs to be done.
Everything is a cost benefit analysis in life, and you gotta make, just like what Jordan said, the right decision for you and your family.
Yeah, and it's a million ways to skin a cat. There is no exactly. This is just we speaking from experience. This is what works for us. This is what works for me, and we just sharing this for you. Maybe save you some heartache or headache in the long run. I hate to see anyone suffer, especially when you start talking about 1 out of every 2 is projected to get cancer in the next by 2050. Yeah, I don't know if I was aware of that statistic, but that was the projection. So, they don't know how to prevent this. They don't know where it's coming from. And it may be coming from things like pet meds. We don't know. Talk to us a little bit about, I think we talked about everything that we said we was going to talk about, Ellie. How fast do Boerboels learn in comparison to other dogs?
I rang the doorbell twice. Good boy. I rang the doorbell twice, and I had Thor bark trained in 2 different languages within 24 hours.
Wow.
So he learns in German and in English. And within 24 hours, and only ringing the doorbell twice the first day, I had associated the barking, and he now barks on command. He is smart. I mean, these dogs are smart. This is why I say you've got to start training them early. And especially women, we tend to be smaller. Do you want a 150-pound dog tearing your ass through the neighborhood? Or do you want a 50-pound puppy that's under your control going through the neighborhood? You really got to start working these dogs because they are smart and they love to learn. They are so reward driven, these dogs, whether it be a toy. Thor is very food motivated. He loves these little, it's actually a food topper. It's pumpkin based. He loves these. These are great for his GI tract. I don't put them in his food. I use them as reward treats. He's very food, but every dog is different in terms of how they prefer their rewards. But they are driven to please their owners. These dogs love nothing more than knowing they've done a great job to their owners.
Yeah, that's where I feel like we definitely got to get the word out because there's some information going out that Boerboels are hard headed, that Boerboels take care of the owner, and that's just it. Been maybe there was somebody got a dog from somebody else and they got a secondhand Boerboel, or they didn't get it from a puppy. But my puppies are hand raised and they are extremely in tune with my thoughts and feelings, what I believe is the best for them. So I feel like let's make sure that that's the narrative, or maybe they're getting, I don't know what kind of dogs that they're getting or that they're dealing with, but in my experiences, this is the way that the Boerboel has always been, and I don't know it. They're very biddable. They're very into.
They are, but I think that this is also where it comes back to the breeder, because those first 8 weeks are so important for a Boerboel. So you got to make sure if you go to a breeder, you know that they are doing the right thing for the Boerboel for the first 8 weeks. And that does not mean keeping them in a playpen for 8 weeks, isolated from humans and experiences. You got to know that your breeder is doing the right thing by the Boerboel. I've talked with Jordan enough. I've seen his setup. I've talked to Jordan about getting another Boerboel in a few years. He knows I'm flying up there to come and see him. So I trust my gut and talking to the breeders. It really is knowing the foundation. But I also want to point out, every Boerboel is a little different. Some people use a pinch collar on their Boerboels. For Thor and I, when we go on walks at like 5 a.m., I have found a gentle leader, which goes around his snout and then his neck. made the pulling and the walking 95% better. So you've got to find unique ways to, every Boerboel's different, but you can find a way to work with them. It's just not going to be as straightforward as I put on a regular collar and they automatically know what to do. Well, these are big dogs. They want to experience the world and they want to see things and they want to attribute whether something is good or bad to every object they see, whether it be a statue that you walk by or a trash bag that's blowing in the wind. They need to know. But you need to find your way with each of your Boerboels on how to do that. So you got to be able to work with them. I use biothane collars.
Love biothane.
That biothane 100% of the way. That is, I came to biothane through Boerboels, and I will die by biothane collars. And he has a martingale one from Etsy. It is great. Biothane is the way to go if you have a Boerboel.
It feels so good in my hand. It feels so good in my hand. And then it's like, I'm big on clean, disinfectant. You could drop it down, you feel safe. The dog can drag it all around. You can bring it in, rinse it down, brand new. Love biothane.
Yep. So this is Thor's biothane collar. He very much misses it right now, but about a square inch of biothane is able to withstand 1,000 pounds of force.
Yeah.
1 square inch of biothane. So think about that.
Show that one more time. I couldn't see it that good.
So this is his martingale biothane collar right here. So it only tightens a small amount. So that is the most it can tighten. But when we go on walks, we put the gentle leader over it. And then I have found, because Boerboels love to play pretty roughly, what I have done, I found a seller on Etsy, and this again is where things can get a little costly, but they're worth it, who deeply engraves the collar. So they are stamped in very hard. It's not like a Petco or PetSmart collar where you can scratch off the wording around it. Because I got tired of paying for those. So I went to Etsy and found someone who could actually deeply engrave these. And I've had to buy the name tags once and never again. His collar, this is the one he's had for over a year. It's amazing.
Yeah, so it's also, that's not just a regular collar, buddy. That's also that's also a training collar. That serves, it's just, all it does is, when the dog, when you're trying to get his attention, it applies a little bit of pressure, tightens up around his neck to let him experience something different. You're trying to break his concentration. Hey, pay attention here.
But it only tightens to a certain extent. You're not going to be able to, if you're a new Boerboel owner, it may be weird to you, but you don't want to over apply force. And I think that is something that people can do by accident with these dogs, is they think, well, the more force around the neck that I apply, the better.
Right.
These dogs their necks are muscle. It ain't gonna matter how much force you apply, because the muscle is gonna protect them. But if you just apply that little bit of force, and there's not even a pinch on here, it's just that little bit of force, he knows, hey, we need to kind of change our situation right now. And then when we're out in public, we'll have the gentle leader on, and that really cues him to, if I turn, he'll turn with me. He'll feel things different. Some people prefer a pinch collar. For him, he has a long enough snout here that I'm able to apply, and I'm not sure if we can see him there. We have a long enough snout that perfectly goes around his nose.
So the gentle leader, buddies, that is a leash that is attached to his neck and is also attached to his muzzle, right?
So it goes down the muzzle, around the neck, and then it's got where you hook into it with your leash, you hook in right here, and it applies equal pressure to the neck and the muzzle.
Right.
Ladies,
it's really good for diverting their attention.
They are, but I will warn women, you will get men who try and mansplain to you, and it's happened to me. You're going to break your dog's nose with that. Well, if you know the anatomy of a dog, you know that where this is going on the nose is solid bone. And if I were to touch Thor's nose and look at the bone, Thor, you got what? Over an inch of bone up there? That'd take a lot of force for me to break. So It does not cut off their air. It does not break their nose. However, don't be yanking, but the whole point of this is it's more gentle. It's less force for you to apply to make it an effective tool, and they pick up on your movements better.
Yeah, that's some great information, Ellie. Listen, we got to get you back on here. We got to get you back.
Hey, I love watching your videos. I love watching the live streams, the YouTubes. That's how I found you. I would love to come back. Thor would love to come back. He
Thank
loves to show off.
you. Always welcome. You always welcome.
Thank you.
I appreciate the perspective, the insight. I hope that y'all was able to pick up some good information. That was some you opened it up. I think that we share a lot of common views, even though we're in two different areas of the country, coming from two different places in life. But the Boerboels bring us together. It's common ground for us. It's a way for us to share, and you know, I love it. I love it. I love the fact that it brings us together.
It's a community. It definitely is. If you are invested in your Boerboel and you go out of your way to meet other Boerboel owners, you're going to find you meet some pretty great people. That's for sure.
Right. And if nothing else, I know that my board buddies understand me. If nobody else, my board buddies, they know what we be talking about. So we stick together, and that's what I love that. I love that. I think it's important. And I'm happy to be able to share this with you. I don't want to take up too much of your time.
Were there any final questions from anyone that was watching that you saw?
Yeah, did anybody have any questions? That would be the time. And if you got anything else, any key, I can't think of anything right now.
I would say, your Boerboel is going to teach you as much as you're going to teach your Boerboel. It's a learning process, seeing how smart these guys are. But they're going to teach you a lot, and they're going to show you so much loyalty. These dogs are not just an investment, like they return dividends. These dogs will love you and protect you. And all that they ask is that you be a good leader to them, a good owner. You set the foundation for them. But don't ever be afraid to reach out to an experienced Boerboel owner or breeder if you have questions, because the worst thing you can do when they are puppies is wait.
Yeah, you need to address issues. I think that's a great way to close it out. The Boerboel deserves, they're gonna love you to the end. They're gonna come, through thick and thin, through the ups and the downs, through the darker days, through the brighter days. The Boerboel gonna be there for you. But and your obligation, your responsibility as an owner is to be there for your dog. And I think that is the highlight of this whole thing that we're trying to do here. We want people to understand, be there for their dogs, how to be there for their dogs, how to lead their dogs effectively. The idea is to get the most of the relationship for both parties, the dog and the owner. The name of that collar was a martingale, right?
Martingale Biothane collar. And Jordan, I'll privately send you the links to where I got the name tag and the collar from if you choose to share it. Again, that's up to you. You've got the audience, but
most definitely. Hey, we're buddies. What I'll do is I'll put that in the chat. I'll put that in the description of the video. But we got our thing going on tomorrow. We'll be back on live tomorrow because I can't stay away. I got some great information that I've been studying. There's people out there putting out misinformation. We definitely want to set the record straight. We want to make sure that, hey, listen, if you did your homework, you did your research, the facts are available to you. I've been doing my homework. I've been doing my research, and I got a great presentation for y'all coming up tomorrow. Savage Kingdom will be in the place. Jason. Shout out to my Boerboel family. Hey, y'all, if y'all get a chance, go check out Glorified Boerboel. Go check out Glorified Boerboels. He got some puppies on ground right now. Witcher Boerboels got amazing litter. We got puppies, and listen, I might not have puppies, but we got you covered. We got people that subscribe to our program and our practices. New Jersey Boerboel, Witcher Boerboels, Glorified Boerboel Kennels. This off the top of my head. Listen, if not nobody, I'll
send you the one for Texas. Jordan.
send me the one for Texas. Yeah, I'm forgetting who. I'm forgetting anybody right now. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. We got some great stuff coming up, and we just want to be here for you. If you got questions, you got concerns, drop us a line. And in the meantime, in between time, stay busy, y'all. Stay active, and don't forget to stay hydrated. It's hot out there, boy buddies. It's hot out there, boy buddies. So keep yourself. This is the other thing that I want you to do. Keep your head cool, because I'm gonna tell you something. When it gets hot, it can get hot real quick. So keep your head cool. 9 times out of 10, the situation gonna remain cool as long as you be cool. So that's my advice to you. Yeah, we'll talk about the Boerboel Day, Young Breezy, tomorrow. I gotta jump off here. Much love, boy buddies. I appreciate y'all for joining. We'll be back. We'll be right back with y'all tomorrow.
No rush, go and move dumb. Back and forth, push and shove. Make your peace and love turn to peace and gloves. Now you got a deal run up. No rush, go and move dumb. Back and forth, push and shove. Make your peace and love.